Good afternoon, everyone. This is our Chapter 10, Chapter 14, and Chapter 10, Chapter 13, and Chapter 14 live lecture. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. And we have the PowerPoint here, so just follow along with me. If you have any questions or if there's something you want to interject, please chat and let me know what your thoughts are, and if you have an experience or something that you recall that you'd like to share with the group, let's do that as well, okay? All right. We're going to start with managing teams. And our first step, we want to look at the advantages of teams. Teams improve. And I'm not going to read every slide, but we'll go through some things. One thing I'd like to mention is that teams improve customer satisfaction, product and service quality, product development, speed and efficiency, employee job satisfaction, such as cross-training and decision-making. And I know some of you have been in the workforce or in the workforce now, and maybe you have experienced working with teams. Can anyone give me one of the examples that I just mentioned where you've worked with a team? Anyone? Cross-trained on 5 different, wow, that's amazing. What were you doing? Oh my goodness. Okay. Very good, Ann. Okay, Dana, safety and compliance. That's very important. Well, I'm actually doing some of that now. I work with the AOS team here, and I also work with the development team here as far as fundraising and donors, things of that nature now that we've gone nonprofit. So yeah, you can teams can be made in any type of industry. They can be created and used in any type of industry, but there are times that there's a disadvantage to having teams. Can you tell me a couple of situations that you may be aware of that it wasn't to your advantage to be part of a team? Oh yeah, that's really difficult. Okay, and is it a problem? I'm guessing it's a problem on your end. Dana, are you hearing me okay? Okay. All right, well take a moment, Ann, and get yourself situated. We'll be right here waiting on you to join the group again. Are you able to turn your volume up? Oh, wow. Okay. And do you happen to have some headphones? Okay, so you've been having some difficulty. All right, well make sure you get that checked out. That's okay. Okay, some of the disadvantages I know, I bet Dana, you're talking about social loafing. Have you ever had situations where you're with a group in school and you have one person that won't do anything. Everybody else is doing their part, but you have this one person that won't make a decision, they won't offer any thoughts, and then they don't participate in the work, and that can jeopardize your grade. Yeah. Well, that's when you have a minority domination, where you have one person that wants to dominate the group because they're fearful that their grade will be affected. And so in order to make sure they get a decent grade, then they just dominate everything. They just want to control everything. So that's not fair to everybody else, because everybody wants to learn. And if some of you remember, fantastic, Ann! Very glad for you. Oh yeah, people try to brown nose. They suck up to the teacher or the boss or the manager, the CEO, and cause different problems, but they're not doing any work, Ann. So that's where the problem begins. It's a little different. You might be able to tolerate some things if they're doing the work, but if you have a person that's not doing the work, that's very annoying. Or if you have a minority domination, a person that wants to take care of everything or handle everything, that's not fair to the group. Let's look at this one, when to use and when not to use teams. I won't read all of the list here, but there are a couple of things in particular that I want to point out to you. When there is a clear purpose, when you've been assigned something to do and you have clear direction, you know what's going on. You don't need the think tank, you don't need to brainstorm, you already know what needs to be done. That team can be really effective, but you have to make sure all the people are working together. And then if you look at when it's not necessary to use a team, when you have something that can be done by one person. I know sometimes it's a good thought when you say, well, we'd like to use a team for this, but you're using resources unnecessarily if you have one person that can get the job done, but you're using other people to do the same thing. And so it's unnecessary, and especially since they mentioned when resources are scarce. Anyone have any questions? Okay. I get that. I enjoy working by myself as well, but on occasion, it's been really beneficial for me to have a team, especially if we have a major project that's coming up. Like right now, we have a situation, well, not a situation, but we have an event that's coming up at Clary Sage. And so I will be hosting and assisting with the people that come in that are VIPs. And so I'm not doing it by myself. And so all of us will have to work together as a team to make sure that everybody gets to their seats. You know, everybody's able to see. They get their grab bags. Their information is taken, making sure that they're comfortable, that they enjoy themselves. And so it's really important to work with a team, and sometimes they may pass something off to you. Some people are more assertive, I would say. That may not be the best word to use, but there are sometimes, yeah, a lot of times it can be fun to work with a team. And sometimes it's just completely necessary. So, but it's important to know when it's good to use a team and when a team is not going to be effective. Okay, and we had mentioned some of this a little bit earlier. I think in Chapter 5, I think we went through some things where there were special teams. One in particular I'd like to mention is virtual teams. And have any of you ever participated in a virtual team? Oh, Patricia, what did you do? What was your part? Oh, wow. Big deal. Okay. That's excellent. Okay, well, I know, I don't think I've worked with a virtual team. I'm guess maybe we're doing a virtual team effort right now doing the live lecture. So this is my first time. But I will mention, has anybody seen the movie Kingsman? Oh, that's an awesome movie. You guys need to watch it. Now, be mindful, there's a lot of profanity in it, so if that offends you, don't watch that movie. It's not good. But make sure that you watch that movie if you're not offended by profanity. It is a great movie, and I won't tell you in detail, but it's like sitting at the round table for knights and the king, and while they're there, while you're there, you can see the holograms of the different guys that are participating, and they're all celebrating something. And they take a glass and they do cheers, but it's all holograms. So that was very interesting. I like that, but that's an example of a virtual team. Sometimes these groups meet together, but most of the time they can do everything they need to do from California, in New York, in France, you know, just international communication, and everything is going on like we are now. Everybody is, someone may be at home, I'm at the office, I think Dana may be at a school somewhere. Everybody's at different places, but we're here together. That's cute, Patricia. That just hurts my feelings. Well, some of us are in our pajamas, and that's really nice. But yeah, some of us are working right now. But you know, this is a virtual team, and so we are on task, and we're taking care of our assignments and joining in. We've also had Miss McBee join us. Good to see you. Glad you're here. We're going to go to the next screen. Okay, I want you to look at work team characteristics. And if you've ever been in a job and you've had to work with a team on a job, there are several things listed here that you know that a team has to go through. And the first step is team norms. And usually when team members aren't familiar with each other, these norms haven't been established. But there are situations that arise that, say if you have a member that's late all the time, I know that's one of the examples that's in the book. If you have a team member that's late all the time, if you go ahead and get started with the project before the team member gets there, there are times that you may kind of lag around and wait for them to come. But the thing is, working as a team, it's important to start on time so you can also finish on time. And so if you have a member that's always late, sometimes you have to go ahead and get started just to emphasize to that person the importance of being on time. And so in doing so, it sets a new norm that says it's no longer okay for you to show up late, but now you have to show up on time or you're going to get left behind. So that's really important. Another thing I'd like to mention is team cohesiveness. A lot of times, because a team is working together for, and sometimes you have some really weird hours, and I guess, I think it was it Patricia or Dana that was working in Alaska? I think it was Dana. And when those things were going on, you were probably working all weird hours with this group of people. You kind of get used to having each other around. You talk to each other all the time. You communicate. You're eating lunch and dinner together. You're spending a lot of time with these people. So you start to build relations. Dana, did you want to expound on that just a little bit? And while she's doing that, I'm going to mention team size. And then we also have team conflict. A lot of times people don't understand why a team just doesn't get along all the time. Because you have this nice little family, and sometimes people won't say anything because they don't want to upset the group, and then there are times that they will say something, and initially someone should actually play devil's advocate to get some other thoughts going. But sometimes people won't, but it is good to have team conflict. It's like having a family, and sometimes you argue or you fuss or you have a discussion because everybody needs to get their point across. Oh my gosh, from 4 to midnight. Those are some really weird hours. Oh, but that's great. You played intramural sports together. I bet that was a great atmosphere. Oh, that's great. Okay. So you see, Dana had an experience with that, and it worked really well for her. So those things can be great, and especially when you're joining together and you become a family, you're connecting with one another, and you feel like you're making some headway. You get to know each other really well in situations like that. I'm going to skip over stages of team development because that's listed in our book, and you see the different steps, and it explains it. So I'm going to skip over that particular one. I spoke about the fight, conflict. Okay. Another thing we want to discuss is setting team goals and priorities. There are times that the team has full capacity to do that, and they're permitted to do it within their group. There are times that there's a manager in place that says these are the goals that we're meeting and these are the priorities, because they've heard either from the CEO or CFO, CIO, these different levels in management, but they've heard from someone above them that says this is how we need to do these, take care of this particular item. And so sometimes there's some flexibility, though, that the team can set those goals and priorities, and that's really great for the team. Challenging team goals affects how hard the team members work. And so keep that in mind, because you may find yourself in a situation where you're working with a team. I know some of our medical students that are surge techs or MAs, dental hygienists, they're working with a team. They have a group of people that are working with them, and while they're doing that, everybody has to be effective in what they're doing. Sometimes there are challenges that arise when trying to meet the team goals, and the team has to really work hard to make sure that those goals are met. Not just for the purpose of meeting the goals, but there are a couple of things like self-satisfaction and gratification that comes with that, and also keeping in mind that there are rewards that you sometimes receive based on how well the team works together and how quickly they meet the goals and priorities that are set. Stretch goals. Keep that in mind. Sometimes our group sets very ambitious goals, and I mean sometimes it can be way out. It's like me saying today, which I'll pick on myself because I like to laugh at myself. I started an exercise program. Cheer me on, give me a high five. Yes, 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 yes. But sometimes we have situations like that, and so I'm working on it. I'm trying to be healthier. I have a 5-year-old grandson, so I want to be healthy. At the same time, the concern is that with me setting up a goal for myself, that means I have to reach that goal. So far, I've lost 5 pounds. I did not set myself up for failure because I determined that I would attempt to lose about 1 pound a week. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. But the only issue is that there were times before. Yes, I am. I'm 47. But thank you very much. Call me in the morning, Dana, and tell me that every day. Every day. Yes, I am. Gray hair and all. I just use color. But the thing that's important is to make sure that you don't do anything that will cause destruction for you or your team. And so there was an opportunity because someone asked me, said, well, what are your goals? There was a time before I would have said, okay, well, I plan on losing 3 pounds a week. First of all, that's a ridiculous amount of weight to try to lose at this age for me. I don't want my skin to be all loose and saggy and weird things going on. Gravity is already taking its effect. But at the same time, also keeping in mind that you have to set some goal so that you can pursue that. It's something that you have to go after, you have to chase. And so whenever a team has a high degree of autonomy, they have that flexibility to reach out and to set some very ambitious goals. It's not recommended, but they can do that. But that is something that they can reach for and strive for. But it's also important that, and that's when managers step in and say, okay, I need you to make sure that you keep it in perspective and that you don't go too far. Dana, you can do it, honey. I know you can. But just make sure that you keep in mind that whenever you have a high degree of autonomy, there is a lot of flexibility within the team, and the team can do everything. They handle everything. They make all the decisions. They set the goals. They determine what's a priority. And in doing so, they're able to keep these things in perspective. So we'll go on to the next slide. Any questions? I'm looking for Jessica and Ferris and Miss McBee to chime in. Please make sure you do. In your mind. Okay, selecting people. When you are selecting people for a team, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. If you pick individualists, that person is selfish. They're determined to do things their own way and what fits their needs. When you're looking at collectivists, they always put the group in front of themselves. So they're willing to do everything to make sure that the group is successful. But if they have a job where they're working with the group and then they're having to do some things individually, the things that they need to complete individually may not get done because they're so busy trying to make sure the group is successful. And in that, so it's very important to have a balance of those people that are able to do that. And so when you have a team that's diverse, from different backgrounds, different abilities, different personalities, you may have somebody that's very solemn, doesn't laugh a lot. Then you may have somebody that's kind of crazy, like myself, that giggles a lot and carries on. It makes for a good balance in the team. Team training. Every team needs to have these skills. I cannot stress it enough. Interpersonal skills, being able to talk to other people, being able to voice your opinion. Exactly, no lazy people. We don't want that. You also want people that are willing to make decisions, but everybody has to be willing to make decisions. Everybody has a say and needs to have a vote in the decisions that are being made for the team. Problem-solving skills. If for some reason I can't figure something out. For example, we were trying to figure out about Ann's volume. Patricia said maybe you need to turn this particular area up within the program. She did that, I'm guessing, and that's worked for her. And Patricia also mentioned now I have earphones or earbuds. You know, sometimes you have to use user error. Sometimes you have to use different things. Very good, Ms. Big B, but you have to be willing to solve problems. And if one person doesn't have the answer, someone else should have the answer. But collectively, you should be able to make a decision and solve the problems. Conflict resolution. That's always great. There always has to be a peacemaker. Sometimes when you're working with a team, discussions can get a little heated. Because somebody wants to do things their way and the other person thinks it's the wrong way. You have some people that go by strict guidelines on things, and then you have other people that want to give people a little mercy, a little grace, which I need the mercy and grace a lot. But anyway, the thing is, you have to have somebody that's the peacemaker to make sure, you know, that everything is resolved and that we are just staying on task. And so that's so important. And then we also have to have the technical training. So we're going to encourage Ann to work on her technical training. Oh, I'm having a good time with you guys. Okay. I know we better hurry because I think we finish at 3:45, but I want to make sure we cover as much as we can. And I'm with you. I am with you. Skill-based pay. When you're looking at team compensation, always know that you know, you pay employees for learning additional skills or knowledge. That's very important. Has anybody ever been in a situation or with a team where you receive skill-based pay? And give me an example. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I will tell you that I know part of the thing, especially as you go out once you receive your degree and you're in the workforce, they will increase your pay because of what you're doing. Exactly. Work for the government, they pay increases, level increases. That's very good. That's a great example, Dana. And I know even when you leave your education here, once you receive your diploma and you receive your degree, you should get a pay increase, or you'll be able to negotiate your pay because of skills you've now acquired and the knowledge you've now acquired. So keep that in mind. It's always good to be able to negotiate your pay, and you'll be very excited about that. I am. Okay, look at gain sharing. Companies share the financial value of performance gains with their workers. When you're in situations of this nature, say Dana had, or was it Patricia, may have mentioned that she was working with a team that handled safety. There are different times throughout the year that because of OSHA, you have to make sure that safety is established. I know down at OTC, at our technical college, that's a huge thing there. Safety is a requirement. So the guys that go in there that are welders, they have to wear their goggles. They have to wear their mask. They have to wear their gloves. They have to wear shirts. Okay, and they have to wear those things in order to make sure they're protected. Whenever a company benefits off of that, because you are following your safety rules, the company receives financial gain because of their workers' willingness to agree to doing the safety procedures and making sure that they comply. So make sure you keep that in mind. That's a good example of how a company shares a financial value with their workers. Gain sharing. Yes, they do, Patricia. They sure do. They're big on that, too. I remember I worked at Walmart, ages ago, back when I was in junior college. We don't want to talk about how long ago that was. Non-financial rewards, such as vacation, T-shirts, awards, certificates. You know, sometimes people get awards for Employee of the Month. And you get your plaque, and they may give you a discount card, or they may give you a T-shirt or certificate, something that's non-financial, but it's something that says to you, we appreciate your service. So keep that in mind as far as team compensation. Okay, we're going to go into Chapter 13. Motivation is the set of forces that initiates, directs, and makes people persist in their efforts to accomplish a goal. There's a swimsuit that I have that I'm wanting to wear. I bought it this year. Not wearing it this year. It's sexy though, but I'm not wearing it this year. But of course next year, that's why I'm working on this plan. I have a plan to get into this swimsuit by next year. So I'm working on that. And so you guys hang in there, applaud me, ask me questions to remind me that I'm supposed to do that. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Hello, Miss Worley. I'm glad you joined us. The basics of motivation: effort and performance, need satisfaction, extrinsic and intrinsic rewards, and how to motivate with the basic model of motivation. Thank you, Ms. McBee. Okay, let's look at these. Anybody have an example of effort and performance as far as motivation? Would you possibly consider that your work ethic? The effort that you put forth? Yes, Dana, that's a great example. Going to school, you're putting forth the effort, you're performing well. That's something because you're motivated to get to your diploma, to get to your degree. Really, Patricia? Getting out of bed? Okay, I can agree. I can agree with that. Okay, well, let's look at need satisfaction. Any comments on that? What's the satisfaction that you get? One example, since you mentioned school, let's go with that. Oh, yeah, you'll get a good paycheck. Very good, Dana. Having your own place to live, that's great motivation. Food to eat. Paying bills, taking care of our family. All these different things meet our needs. Very good. Okay, okay. Can someone give me an example of an intrinsic reward? And if you're using your book, go to page 269. Very good. Money for credit. Exactly. Okay, Dana. That will go under your intrinsic. Whenever you get pleasure, you simply do it for the pleasure of it, the reward of helping someone. That is intrinsic. Consider that. Yeah. Extrinsic is something that's tangible. So it could be the plaque that you receive. It could be a bonus. It could be a vacation, something that we mentioned before. Yeah. That's what I thought. Oh, okay, yes. Okay. All right, effort and performance. Okay, look at motivation. All of that ends up being how badly do you want it? What's in it for you? And ethics. Vacation day is great. That's good, Dana. That's very good. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and skip past this. This is something listed in your book. If you want to look at that, you can look at page 269, and it talks about Maslow, Alderfer, and McClelland's and their theories. But those are all listed in the book. I won't go over them so that we can go through the PowerPoint. You see the hierarchy of Maslow here. Self-actualization, esteem needs, meaning it makes you feel good about yourself. You value yourself because of what you've done. No, there aren't, but I will tell you I have a few books at home from where I went through my classes. I'll check and see if I have some books for you, Dana, that will be helpful for this class, okay? Love and belonging needs. You know, belonging to a team can be very important for some people, and some people work better in a team atmosphere. Some people thrive in a team atmosphere, and so if you're that type of person, you need to feel that you belong to a part of something, and you want to be a part of that, and so the team meets that need for you. Safety and security. All of us, especially in our jobs, we want safety and security. We want to make sure that we're efficient and effective in our jobs because we want that safety net. We want to make sure that we're replaceable and that no one can take that from us. So keep that in mind. Also, the physiological needs for sleep and water. Those are just basic survival needs that everyone has. How many of you are ever grumpy or anything if you don't get enough sleep or you don't eat well? You can tell when your body's not doing what you want it to do. Yeah, it can get ugly. It depends. I know my son says, "Mom, feed the beast." That can be a bad situation. Okay. Of course, you can go through these. You see the hierarchy, though, of how all the first ERG theory is established. Growth, relatedness, and existence. And, of course, the base is existence. That's just your basic needs. Food, water, and all of these are similar to one another, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, only because that hierarchy, they just may have shortened it or increased it. I have to sleep and eat. I hear you. It's necessary. It's very important. And McLeland's, you see, he's listing some of the same things. It's just in a different way. Oh, okay. Well, watch out, September. Okay, what leads to effort? We want to look at that. Anybody have any conversation about that? The higher order needs will not motivate as long as lower order needs remain unsatisfied. It's really difficult. I know at the school that I was at before, I was their student services coordinator, and I had some guys that were in school, but it was really difficult for them because some of them didn't have enough to eat. And it's really hard to consider going to school, staying focused, being motivated to do what you need to do if you're struggling with a place to live, if you don't have enough food to eat, and if you are struggling financially. That can be a major problem. So it's really difficult for us to reach the higher areas that we're striving for if the lower needs haven't been met. Also, it's difficult to predict which higher order needs will motivate employees' behavior. Yeah, I did ramen noodles when I was in junior college. I hope to never eat another package ever again. Yes, SpaghettiOs, that's familiar. I've been there. But sometimes it's necessary. When you're in school and your money is going towards your education, peanut butter and jelly was my friend. That was my friend. But you have to keep those things in mind in order to make sure your effort is sustainable to reach your goals. The relative importance of the various needs may change over time. Say, for instance, your car messes up. That wasn't an issue for you until it actually messed up. Prior to that, you may not have concerned yourself about your vehicle. Your vehicle was running fine, so you're just out and about and doing everything you need to do, but then something happened and your car is messed up. And so now you don't have, oh, poor thing. And so now you don't have a vehicle. And that just puts everything in a difficult place for you, because you in school, but at the same time you're trying to figure out how you're going to get to your job, or how you're going to get to church, or how you're going to get to a meeting that you have to attend, or if you're on ground, how you're going to get to school for an on-ground class. It makes it very difficult, and it's very frustrating. So keep in mind, sometimes the importance of these things may vary. So you never know what situation you may find yourself in. I hate that for you. Yeah. We went through these rewards a moment ago. I think I got ahead of myself. Motivating with basics. Start by asking people what their needs are. Satisfy lower order needs first. Expect people's needs to change. So even though they tell you what they need, be prepared that their needs may change. I had one guy, I recall that his situation was he left home, which was in Arizona, to come to school here in Tulsa. While he was here, his wife decided that he was too far away from home and he wanted to leave. The concern was that he couldn't stay focused on school because his relationship was falling apart. And so his need, his basic thing that motivated him as far as being able to have a better job, provide for his family, those things kind of went backseat when he realized that his wife was leaving him. And so that made it really difficult for him to focus on his education. And so when those needs change, you have to be able to encourage someone and remind them about the bigger picture, you know, to stay focused on the bigger picture. Patricia, maybe you don't have a car right now, but your goal is that you're going to finish your education and have the finances that you need to have in order to get the type of vehicle you want to have. And so, you know, we're all working towards these things, and we're motivated for different reasons by education or by the need that we have. But we have to always remain looking at the bigger picture. And sometimes that may be too far ahead. But if you start with something small, with just getting through the month, or just getting through the week, or just getting through the day, that can help you as far as establishing those basic needs and having an understanding of that, especially within a team. Equity theory. People will be motivated at work when they perceive that they are being treated fairly. Equity theory stresses the importance of perception. Have you ever been in a situation where someone said or thought that you felt a certain way and you didn't feel that way, but they perceived or thought that you felt that way? It's said all the time. Jessica, do you want to give me an example? Or Miss Big B, could you give me an example? I know one big thing is making sure that whenever you communicate within your team, that you express to them that if there is any type of conflict, if someone perceives that they're being treated unfairly or believes that they're being treated unfairly, that you would make sure that you resolve that conflict. And that way, everyone will be satisfied. Everyone will reach the same goal. Go ahead and share with us, Ms. Ferris. Ms. Worley, did you have anything to add? Okay, I'm going to skip this portion because I know our time is getting short and I've talked way too much. Let's see. Let's look at motivating with expectancy theory. And Jessica, whenever you're available, I'm just going to continue on with the slides so we can let you guys get out of here. But also, go ahead and share with us what you're going to bring to the table. Motivating with expectancy theory. Systematically gather information to find out what employees want from their job. Sometimes jobs will do surveys. Your boss may come and have a seat with you or call you in and ask you just to express some concerns or thoughts that you have. I know Ms. McBee, I think in something you shared with us, you may have done that at one time and you felt that I don't think the person responded the way that they should. And oh, the last time you did it, Dana, you got fired. Oh my goodness, it's not supposed to be that way. Especially if you're working with a team, it's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to be able to voice your concerns and everybody's voice be equally heard. Also, take specific, Jessica, disagreement with your mom. She will try to think for me. Oh, yeah. As moms, we do that. I'm sorry. Yeah, and sometimes that happens, but, you know, because sometimes there are situations. I know my son, he's 18. He was in a situation where he and a girl had broken up. This was his first time being in love, so it was really a sad time for me. And I was trying to figure out as a mom how best to help him, what I could do to help him. And he didn't want me to help him. He wanted me to be available for him. He wanted to be able to talk when he was ready, but he wasn't ready. And so he just simply said to me in a really nice way, "Mom, when I'm ready to talk, I'll let you know." And it crushed me. And so I prayed a lot, and, you know, and just thought about what I could do to make things easier for him. A couple of nights I made his favorite meal and, you know, things like that, the things that were in my power to do. But as a young man, the truth of the matter was I just needed to step back and let him handle some of that because we have a really good relationship. And when he was ready to tell me that, he would. So, you know, sometimes it's important just to take a step back and let somebody, if they want to tell you, let them tell you, and let them share their thoughts, their direct thoughts, not something you've decided for them. Oh, we got an exclamation mark on that one, didn't we? Okay, I'm going to go on to a little further along because I have talked so much. I'm so sorry. Of course, I'm not going to read each and every one of these to you anyway, but I didn't realize how time was getting away from me. Let's see. Okay, let's look at motivating with goal-setting theory. Assign employees specific challenging goals. There are times that your boss may assign you something directly to do. Even though you're working as a part of the team, this is something specifically within the group that you are instructed to do. And if it's challenging for you, that is something that you can bring to the table. Obviously, your boss wouldn't have asked you if they didn't think that this was something that you could accomplish, unless it was a manager that just has, that's just not wanting to help you grow as an employee. But most managers, for the most part, I would think that they would want you to reach for other things so that you could cross-train, as we had mentioned before, and also so that you would be able to meet these goals and can possibly move up and receive some type of reward for this. Also, make sure workers truly accept organizational goals. It is so important. I know one of the things that they do now even in hiring, is that you understand the organizational goals. So before you guys set out on your job search, make sure you understand the company's vision and that you also understand their goals. Only because once you get in there and have a conversation with them, you want to know that this is really a place that you want to work. You want to make sure that your goals as an individual are in line with that organizational goal, so that you're willing to do your part and make sure that that you're willing to go and help make the company better. The reason I mention that is because sometimes when you go to a job interview, they want you to know or to have researched their company. And understand, this is for your benefit as well. You're not just going there to get a job. You're going there because you want a career and you want a place that you can plant your feet and that you can make a difference, whatever that situation may be. I know some people don't think that certain jobs are important, but it takes every job in that company to make the world go round, from the janitor, the guy that's cleaning the bathroom, to the CEO. It takes everybody in between to make sure that the company runs properly. So keep that in mind. And provide frequent, specific performance-related feedback. So as a manager or within a team, it's always good to tell your coworkers, oh, you did a great job, that was fantastic, that was awesome, and make sure you remember to do that. And on time, at times, we mess up. So there may be times that you have to go back and critique and say, you know what, you kind of fell short on that, this is a good idea, or this is something that we can do that will work for it. Let's try it and see how it works. Not because you're trying to prove to them that you're right, but you're trying to make sure that the team is working again effectively and efficiently. Okay. Leadership, I'm going to let you go through some of those things on your own because those things are also listed in the book. I am not going to hold you any longer because it's almost 4 o'clock and you've been with me for an hour. And I am so sorry because it was supposed to go for 45 minutes. But do any of you have any questions of me right now, as far as the rest of the PowerPoint or anything you saw in the book? Yeah, we did, about our bikini bodies. Yeah, I probably won't ever do that, but I plan on having my swimsuit ready for next year. No, I did not have an opportunity to look at the video. Yes, I did. I take that back. And it's working. It's fine. I take that back. It is working. So if you're still having trouble with it, send me an email or call me and let me know. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Thank you very much for participating. And we will try this again on next Thursday. Until then, make sure you get all of your assignments and your discussions taken care of, and you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend, too.
I always forget. There we go. Just a few announcements. Don't forget your live lecture summaries if you miss on Thursday. And of course, you guys are all here, so you're wonderful. This is a larger group than we had last week, so I'm pretty happy to see you all here. However, if you do miss a Thursday, just be sure to watch the recorded version. I'll try to have that up by Friday, usually evening, and so that you can watch that and have your summary in by Saturday night by midnight so that you can get your points. Pay close to due dates for maximum points. Read and view your PowerPoints before completing your assignments. I know some of you look like you get on Sunday night and start watching PowerPoints or post to the first discussion board even. that's great, or even on Monday is wonderful if you have time. I know that so many of you work full-time as well as attend college, so you just work with the schedule that's best for you. When I was completing my master's online, I did a lot of my work at night after the kids went to sleep and the lights were low so that I didn't see the things that needed to be done around the house. It helped me. So, also, keep up the good questions and comments on the discussion board. You guys are really doing a great job of responding to each other's initial post, and I like that many of you are asking questions about the initial post too by your classmates, so that's a great way to learn. And those of you on your post, be sure to check back to see if you're getting any comments. So you really are doing a fantastic job. I wanted to tell you about that. Week 1, just a quick review of what we went over. Some of this we did at week 1 during our live lecture, and some of this has just been during the week as well. So I got to find out really quick, T, what's your full name, T, so that I can get you down for being here? I want to get to your point. If you could just type it in the chat, that would let me know. I know we're pretty high-tech, but when it comes to attendance on our live lectures, I just have to write your names down. So bear with me real quick. I'll just put T. Okay, week 1 review. Last week we went over what is a leader. We talked about some of the personality traits of a good leader. We talked about the importance of confidence and leadership. A little bit about whether we thought if a leader was naturally born or if a leader's basically formed from their environment. Also some of the limitations, a little bit about charisma in our discussion boards. Also talked about visions, inspiration, stories, and social networking. I really liked reading your comments about social networking because this is so much a part of business nowadays, and also a part of the college and university life. We use Facebook quite a bit for our communications, also Twitter, Instagram. So we use lots of different forms of social media at CC and OTC and Clary State College. Also, skill development and some charismatic concerns. So that's a little bit about what we covered last week. Now this week, it's a little bit of the same, but also a little bit different. I wanted to bring up an example of a leader. And here we have Walt Disney. Some of you probably watched a few of his shows, maybe growing up. Yeah. Walt Disney said, of all the things I've done, the most vital is coordinating those who work with me and aiming their efforts at a certain goal. So I think he's a great example of a leader. So he felt he was more of a coordinator and helping them towards their goal as opposed to helping towards his goal. He kind of pinned it as for them as well. Now here's a few Walt Disney facts that I found interesting. Stephanie's here too. Great. Let me get you written down, Stephanie. Stephanie McKenzie. Great. Okay, some Walt Disney facts that you may or may not know. He started drawing cartoons as a kid on his family's farm in Missouri. He dropped out of high school at the age of 16. And, oh, that's okay, Stephanie, no problem. It happens. I did, Donna. I got you written down. So he dropped out of high school at the age of 16 because he actually wanted to join the military, but they denied him because of his age. So he had to step back. What he did instead was he was good pals with Uncle Sam. He helped produce some of the animated war propaganda films and training videos. He also created a few Army insignias that would help with morale. So he tried to help support the troops even though he couldn't be one. Mickey Mouse was originally named Mortimer Mouse, but Disney's wife said the name Mortimer sounded too pompous. Disneyland employees have only their first name listed on their name tags because Disney despised being called Mr. Disney. And I sort of understand that. It's hard for me to respond to Mrs. Snell because I always think Mrs. Snell is, well, that's my mother-in-law. That's not me. But I'm fine with it. But I also respond very well to Shani. So if you ever wonder about what to call me, that's great. Some people will put Professor Snell. That's okay too. But Mrs. Snell to me, it's just a little too formal. I'm more of a Shani. Disneyland employees have, let me see, the last Disney personally oversaw was Jungle Book, a great animated film, before his death of lung cancer in 1966. And when he died, 25% of his estate went to California Arts, helping the private university build up its campus. And so he left something of himself to future artists. I thought that was fantastic. Now, of these things that we just read about Disney, he grew up on a farm, he dropped out at age 16, he helped with the war effort the best he could. He liked being called by his first name by Walt instead of Mr. Disney, and he left a little money to Cal Arts. So of these things that we just talked about, and let me see if I can get this to work right. I just learned this little trick this week. You tell me, what do these facts about Walt Disney say about him as a leader? The things that we just talked about, what do you think those things might say about him as a leader? Give me a few ideas. And just type it in the chat area so that I can copy it over into our PowerPoint. That he was compassionate. Oh my goodness. Maybe I can do this. Caring, giving, yes. What else? What are some other things that you think sort of reflect things about him? Determined. Very good. Looks like Brianne's working on one too. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We'll put thoughtful up, yes. Strong-willed, that's a good one as well. Yes. So also one thing that I think about, that he came from, he began life on a farm. That's where he started learning how to draw. And, you know, that he didn't like the Mr. word. So I consider him to be sort of down to earth, even though so many of the pictures you see of Walt Disney, oh, committed, yes, good one. Humble, that's a good term, yes. So I think of him as down to earth. Even though the pictures that we see of him are usually in a formal suit or in his studio, I would love to sort of search around and see if we could find some earlier pictures of Walt Disney when he first began. So I think, you know, a person's roots also determines a lot about what they'll be like as a leader. I would like to know more about his parents as well. So who sort of shaped part of his life. And here we've got Mickey over here in the corner, of course. Okay, chapter 4 we're going to hop into. I picked just a few things from chapter 4 and a few things from chapter 5 for us to discuss during the live lecture. In chapter 4, we're going to look at entrepreneurial leaders and task-related attitudes and behavior. And you've already done an assignment this week, I believe, with task-related attitudes and behavior. So, entrepreneur, I decided to list that one first because it's sort of near and dear to my heart. I've done lots of different entrepreneur type endeavors after I had my children because I wanted to be able to stay at home as much as possible, to be able to raise them as opposed to them maybe going to grandma's house or to a daycare. I wanted to be there. So Some of the things that I did while my children were little was I ran an in-home daycare. I ran a dog and cat boarding facility off of our property. We wound up growing so big that we built a new building. And we didn't have just dogs and cats. We also had one duck that we watched that was named Duck. Once a year he came and stayed with us. He brought his little pond with him. And we also had wallabies that we watched. So we had 2 wallabies come and stay a week, and before the next year they were 3 wallabies. And so the female actually got pregnant at our place, and they started calling it the Love Shack because they were trying to have a baby wallaby, and it happened with us, so we were happy. And what else? I ran a natural cleaning business where I made all my cleaning products from scratch, from all natural materials. I custom scented them to the customer. And so I've used a lot of entrepreneurial skills to be flexible, to be able to be my boss for a while. And it was fantastic. It worked out great when the kids were younger. So what do you have to do to be an entrepreneur? Well, you need to be strong achievement driven. You need to be able to be sensible with your risk taking. You don't want to lose the business right away. You want to have a high degree of enthusiasm and creativity. Now this may depend a little bit on what area you're going into, the amount of creativity you need. You need to have a tendency to act quickly when opportunities arise. And, you know, I think Community Care College is a great example of acting quickly. When they get a good idea on a new program that might be offered, it can happen right away with a little bit of research and some elbow grease. Whereas at a regular university, if they find a new area they want to offer training in, it could be a year before it's even off the ground. So we have a great entrepreneur spirit at our college. The tendency, let me see, constant hurry combined with impatience. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to work a lot. In fact, it sort of feels like 24/7. So you have to stay engaged. And yes, Erin, that's a good one. Willing to cut losses when you realize that maybe this isn't going where it should. And also willing to make a big change when needed as well. With our dog boarding facility, it grew so large that I couldn't handle it and watch children. So what we did was we sold the house and the kennel, moved into a smaller house, and we let someone else take care of it. If my children were older, we may have continued with that. It was lots of fun. I loved meeting all the dogs and cats. However, we had to cut our losses and say, hey, this is too big for us right now. So a little bit about entrepreneurs, visionary perspective combined with tenacity. You can't give up. You're looking for opportunities. When you see a problem, you need to be able to figure out the solution. Whether it's on your own if you're the sole owner, or if this is a company, you bring together a committee to help solve that problem. Also, see if I can scooch this out of the way. Hierarchy, bureaucracy, not suited for working with the mainstream maybe. De-emphasize rules and regulations. Successful entrepreneurs are frustrated by constraints. Lots of times you see the person break out into the entrepreneurial world when maybe they're tired of being the follower and going by the rules that are set for them. An entrepreneur often says, okay, it's time for me to break out, it's time for me to make the rules and go in the direction that I want to go. And it can really be an amazing choice. Preference for dealing with external customers. Here's the thing, if you're going to run a business, you have to be good with your customers. You have to focus on your products, your services, and what I see nowadays with a lot of small entrepreneurial businesses in our area of the state is customer service is an area that's really slacking. I will hear of people posting things on Facebook. Maybe they're looking for someone to do an estimate on a roof in their home, and they've called 5 businesses and no one's gotten with them to do an estimate. And I see it happen quite a bit, especially in the service industry area. So if you can excel at customer service, lots of times that's the thing that's going to make the difference right there. You have an eye on the future. Where's my next deal coming from? And the example is Richard Bronson has 250 companies. So he's always on the lookout for what's coming up, what's going to be the newest thing. The entrepreneur personality, if extreme, notice it says if extreme, get my little pointer out there, if extreme, can lead to addictive behavior and substance abuse. So we have to rein it in a little bit. Don't take it to the extremes to where you're not sleeping at all and getting into lots of trouble there. Here's an example of 10 famous businesses that started out in a garage. Lisa, Tom Shoes announced they will launch a new product, a new one for one product every year. Okay, give me a little more information on that, Lisa. Like a new business or a new product? Because I'm always interested in what Tom's was doing. I thought it was fantastic the way they started off with buy a shoe, donate a shoe, that someone's going to receive some of those. If you buy a prize, yes, exactly, Erin. And you know, I have seen a direct example of that in our little community. Last year in Afton, I think it was around Christmas time, Tom's came out and measured the foot of every kid in Afton schools from pre-K up to senior year. Now, we're a small school, but still, that's a lot of kids. They measured their shoe size, and then they were each delivered a pair of shoes. We live in a very low-income town. I believe Afton's median income is around $27,000 a year. And, you know, I always picture, you know, the Tom Shoes maybe going overseas to Africa, to South America, to other countries that are even in more need than we are. But this happened in Afton, Oklahoma, and I thought it was just fabulous. So I'm a fan. That's all it takes for me. And I wonder if you started in the garage as well. So here's a few examples. Amazon. Amazon started as an online bookstore in a garage. They just had a few books. Apple, of course, created their first computer in a garage. Disney, his first workshop was, I believe, his uncle's garage. Google, garage. Harley Davidson. Hewlett-Packard, Lotus Cars. Maglite, you know, the flashlight. Started off with getting a machine that he could produce some things made out of metal, and that's where Maglite began. Mattel began as somebody making doll houses from the leftovers of building picture frames, and went from there. And then, of course, the Yankee Candle Company started in a garage. The owner decided to make a candle for his mom. I believe it was for Christmas. And he made it out of melted crayon and added a little scent. And Mom loved it, and her friends loved it. And pretty soon he was making candles for everybody on the block. And now he's a millionaire. That will work, right? So sometimes you just need to you need to have the idea. You need to have a spot where you can begin it and carry on from there, right? I think it's fantastic. You don't have to be born. You don't have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You can build that silver spoon yourself out of some leftover fish and jigs. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Maybe that would be a lead spoon. Okay, a little bit about task-related attitudes and behaviors. I believe it was the first assignment you guys turned in on Tuesday. You discussed a little bit about these. So if we look at a little bit about attitudes with leadership, leaders need to be adaptable to the situation. Probably the number one thing, they're flexible. They can adapt to whatever's going on. They need to be able to set a direction for the company or for themselves if they're an entrepreneur. They need to set high performance standards. We're not going to set low performance standards and hope that everyone achieves them. We want to go higher. We want some risk-taking with execution of plans. So not just flying off the handle, but actually having a direction of where we're going to go. Hands-on guidance and feedback, ability to ask tough questions, and this is kind of a hard one, and organizing for collaboration. So just a little bit about each one. Adaptability to a situation. Effective leaders adapt well. Their tactics are chosen based on the circumstances. Supervision towards members depend on the level of psychological maturity, and select structure that best suits the demands of the situation. Now, here's the thing. I think to become adaptable, it helps if you've had experience. It makes it easier to adapt when you've had something similar happen already, right? So everything that you go through in life, everything outside of business, at home, wherever, is going to have an effect on how well you can adapt and how you can relate to things. Direction setting sets the direction of change, and we know change can be hard. We talked about that. Part of creating a vision and a strategy. Feasible ways of achieving a vision as well. So we are looking towards the future, trying to decide how we're going to do this, setting our direction. They set high performance standards. We hold members to high standards, challenge the thinking of others, and do not back down from complications. So you have to have this resilience, and you have to be able to set the bar where you want it to be at and help your employees reach that bar. Make it attainable, but also a growing process as well. The effects of high standards. Pygmalion effect is basically standards are so high that productivity decreases. You don't want that. Success and beliefs can be determined without even realizing it, which is the best way. Success and failure become self-fulfilling. Perceptions contribute to success and failure. So with this, with setting the high standards, I believe someone brought up the idea of change on the discussion board. And I'm a fan of change happening one bite at a time, one step at a time. An example is I've worked at businesses before where new management came in and changed everything. It was like culture shock. One day we were one way, one day we were the next. Now, it's important that you're not changing just because you can change it. There needs to be a purpose, and there needs to be a plan. Next is your group member strength. Have any of you ever done an online group activity, such as maybe building a PowerPoint with a group, or maybe you're putting together a research project online with a group? Yes, okay. Amber has, and I'll bet Donna has too, right? A research paper, okay. And Haley? And Haley is too. Okay, great. And Brianne, okay, great. So you guys, you know what I'm talking about here, right? You know what I'm talking about, group online projects. They can be a challenge, right? And each group member has a strength, and we have to find that out online. Sometimes you find that out by working with the member over and over at different times. Sometimes it's a complete surprise because you're thrown together in a group and you have to create this project. So what happens? Sometimes it's a wonderful process if you've got great group members, right? And sometimes you've got a group member that maybe doesn't really email the group, or they've signed up to do one section of the PowerPoint. Sometimes it is chaos, Donna, you got it. And you get down to the due date and everybody's pulling things together. Too many Indians, not enough chiefs, yes. Yes. So you're trying to pull it together, and one person has just fallen off the face of this earth and they have not done the things that they need to. So you've got this missing element in your great group project. On the other side, sometimes you have one person that's too much of a chief, right? Yes. So maybe this one person is trying to tell everybody else what to do, and not easily. Maybe they're assigning tasks. Maybe they're telling you, okay, I'm going to put this project together, but I need everything turned in by Wednesday, even though the project isn't due until Sunday. Does this sound familiar to anyone? I've had this happen so many times. It can be very frustrating. So we look at our group member strengths. We try to bring them together. Everybody is unique. I had one great leader in the group she had a background in newspaper. So she put together these incredible PowerPoints and flyers and pamphlets that she could have sold. They were beautiful. So she was a very valuable group member in that aspect. But she was also very much into power, so everybody else needed to get things in on time so she could pull it together. So we look at our unique skills, and we try to get a group that has different skills in different areas is the main. So with Mother Teresa's quote over here, you see, you can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do, and together we can do great things. And that's what being a group member is that you can come together. It's great if you can come together physically, but you guys know it can be maybe a challenge if you're doing it online. It just depends on who is given to you to be part of it. Risk-taking and planning execution. So taking and implementing risk to bring about change. If you're impatient, study a problem quickly and then action accordingly. I think what it's basically saying there is don't be too impatient. Sometimes we need to stop and breathe and think about it. Hands-on guidance and feedback. Leaders giving hands-on guidance due to technical competencies. Too much guidance can be poor delegation or micromanagement. I've heard that term come up quite a bit in discussion boards, that micromanaging is a little bit of a bad word nowadays. Frequent feedback on performance and reinforce the skills. So as a leader, you do have to give that hands-on guidance. You need to be there. You need to be part of the process. Don't be the leader that's off in their office that nobody ever sees. So you're giving them guidance and you're also giving feedback as you go along. Also, you need the ability to ask tough questions. Make the group stop and think about what they're doing or not doing. Focus members to think about the effectiveness of their activities. I want to know why no one thought about X when it's right under your nose. So I think this is a great thing to bring out. Again, don't be the standoffish leader. Be the one that's part of the group that's ready and willing to ask the questions that no one else wants to ask. Organizing, being organized for collaboration, demand collaboration, get everybody working together, identify outcomes before the collaboration meeting, have an idea, speak with employees, understand their communication style, and select technologies to improve workflows, such as we do with giving lectures on the internet. Let me see, Brianne, we're doing leadership training at work right now. Team members judge others' managing skills and who micromanages. Oh my goodness, I bet that's an experience, isn't it, Brianne? So has it been positive? Have you taken it as a positive experience, or has it been rough? Because leadership training depends on the leadership training person too. So far, only one has been a little overbearing. Okay, well good. And you know, here's the thing, oftentimes the one that's being overbearing doesn't even realize it. So they just may be thinking that they're the one that's coming up with the ideas, right? Uh-oh, well that happens too. You know, I've seen it a lot in women as well. Keep it balanced, right? So maybe one person's going to learn from this leadership development. That's right. Okay, chapter 5, real quick. There's just a couple things to cover on here. We're at 8:30, and we have until about 8:45 to be in this room. Whenever we have our Blackboard collaboration times, it's sort of like scheduling a classroom. I can have it from 8 to 9. However, the next lecturer that's maybe coming in at 9 needs to come in and get his or her stuff set up first too. We can only use it one at a time. So that's why sometimes your classes are at different times of the day. Your lectures might be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because that's the only one available, and you may have to watch the recordings because of that. So here we go. We have about 10 minutes left and just a couple things to cover. In chapter 5, mainly, I wanted to talk about decision-making styles. So what differs is the degree of group members' participation, and we've already kind of talked about this. The example was online group projects. You've got the person that, for decision making, maybe they decide. The leader makes the decision alone and then announces it. This is what we're going to do, and I don't want to talk about it, basically. Maybe they consult individually. The leader works with each group member individually to gather their suggestions and makes the decision alone. So again, it's sort of like getting a little input, but not coming together as a group. A consult is a group. The leader works with group members as a group in a meeting, gathers suggestions, and makes decisions alone still. So we want your input, we want to hear your ideas, but ultimately we're going to make the decision. Okay? A facilitator. The leader presents problems to the group, facilitates the discussion, really just kind of guides it along, gathers input, ensures they don't favor their individual decisions, and this is more of kind of a neutral ground. So they really want to hear what's going on. And the group can be the ultimate deciding factor here in some instances. And then lastly, the delegate. The leader permits group members to make the decision, works behind the scenes, does not limit, but allows group members to work autonomously. So these are a few different ways you might go about making a decision for a company, for your own business, whether it be entrepreneur or a large corporation. It's going to depend on the people that you're working with. It's going to depend on your leadership style, and ultimately the leader has to choose which will be best for the company. Leadership, the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. I really like that quote, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Okay, and our last thing, leadership during a crisis. Big stuff right here. Crisis leadership is the process of leading group members through a sudden and largely unanticipated, intensely negative, and emotionally draining circumstance. So the big thing that I thought of here on leadership during a crisis, I lived in Joplin, Missouri when the tornado came through. My house did not get hit. We were about 2 blocks away from kind of the main impact area. We had some insulation in our yard, but our house was fine. A lot of my friends though had homes that were completely destroyed. We helped people move out of their homes. We helped them get into a place. We had some people stay at our home. Here's the thing, I had no idea what to do. I'd never been in a tornado before in my 45 years on this earth. We grew up in Oklahoma, of course, having lots of tornado sirens go off, but you really don't know what to do until you've lived through it one time, I think. You know, if it were to happen again, I would have a lot better idea of what needs to happen first. And, you know, Joplin as a whole, our community, it was just knee-jerk reaction at first. What are we going to do here? How do we secure this town? So we needed, basically, someone to be decisive from the beginning. We made decisions one day, and then things would change the next. They need to lead with compassion, which actually they were very good at. They were always trying to help out. Reestablish the usual work routine as much as you can. Avoid a circle of wagons mentality. In other words, we're gathering together and we're going to fight this. You want to try to keep it positive. Display optimism. Prevent crisis through disaster planning. After you've gone through it, again, my first thing to do when we moved back to Oklahoma was to find a house that had a basement or a hidey hole, some type of a shelter, because I could not rest without one. Provide stable performance and be a transformational leader. And one of the things that's not on this list is communicate. Right here, communicate. If it's in a crisis situation, you want to sit down, take a breath, think about what's going on, and decide what your first form of communication is going to be. What do you need to tell the people? What needs to happen? What do your employees need to know? Sometimes it's not everything. Sometimes it's just the basics. My mother lives in Afton, Oklahoma. They lost water last week for 28 hours, the whole town. And it happened to be on a Friday when it happened. City Hall is closed on Friday. There was no one there to take phone calls. They don't have a city website. It was crazy. And so one of the best things that they could have done was to have somebody there to answer the phone calls. Nobody even knew the real story of why the water's off. There were all these rumors going around. So communication is your key, I think, during a crisis. To what extent do you think battlefield experience would help a person become an effective crisis leader in a business? Think about that question just for a minute and give me a few little blurbs. What do you think? To what extent do you think that battlefield experience, I mean actual battlefield experience, we're talking war here in some type of the military. See if I can get this set right to come up a little bit bigger. Remaining calm during chaos. Yes, excellent. Fight or flight, sort of addressing that, yes. You know, in most instances with all of the training that they've received, the instinct is going to be to fight. Focus, being able to focus on what is hand, yes. Working under pressure and making choices and sticking to it, yes, great. Great examples, guys. Let's see if I can get this to come up a little bit better. I'm slowly learning how to use this a little more. There we go. And no pressure, but I have to type real time, right? Working under pressure. Quick on your feet. Make plans, yes. Making plans. Correcting situations, very good. And since battlefield experience would be life or death, yes. While business is not that severe, they would be able to rapidly process strategy without hesitation. That's right. That's right. So think of the training that people in the military go through to get them ready for this, to get them ready for a situation. Keeping team members on the same plan together. Yes, exactly. You know, when you're in the military, you're a part of a family, and they create this tight unit by working together. So somebody might have a great ideas of building teams and what can or should be done. Very good. So there's lots of different reasons. No fear. Exactly. My brother went through training as a Marine, and boy, they get the fear out of you. They do. He came back a different person and still is. You know, it was sort of that went in a boy and came out a man. So yes, these are all great examples. So, you know, someone that's retired from the military, somebody that's came back from the battlefield may be a great leader. A lot of people think that to be President of the United States that you should have some military experience as well, because it helps you understand how it works and to receive that type of training that would help you in leadership as well. Very good, guys. Last but not least, and Aaron, see, no fear. You picked the last word. Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. You know how I am with quotes already, guys. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions? We've done our Tuesday discussion board. This evening, you need to have discussion board number 2 responded to. And Saturday, you have your assignment. So when is week 3 quiz open? It should be open now. Is it not open? Well, I will fix that, because I like for you to be able to work ahead if you want to. Let me write that down real quick. I'll go ahead and set that to open up. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. You know, there's so many things on My Course Connection that you think, okay, I've got everything right, but then as a student, you guys see the other side and you can catch mistakes easier than I can. So please, yes, bring things up like that. I'll go in and check week 3, and I was going to say week 4 as well, but we don't have a quiz for week 4. You just have your final project for that week and 2 discussion boards if you've looked ahead a little bit. All right, great. Well, those of you that have no further questions, you're welcome to go ahead and go. Have a great night. I'll see you next Thursday. And those of you that have some more questions, stick around. I'll be glad to help out. Do PurePro still have a delay on your end? Oh, did you respond to another one and I didn't get the points for you? Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Erin. Just making sure. Well, if you see one pop up, please let me know.